As April of 2019 is coming to a close, we might have to come to the realization that the semi-Nintendo Direct of Joker's reveal in Smash may very well be the last piece of Nintendo news that we're gonna get for a while. There's a chance there's gonna be another Nintendo Direct before E3, but Nintendo likes keeping us on our feet, and we never really know what comes next. One thing that is for certain though, is Nintendo will be making an appearance at E3 2019. They've officially set up their E3 website, which we'll go into more detail about soon, but first, let's just talk about E3 as a whole. This year at E3 is going to be a monumentally different change for what we're used to. Looking into the context around this event, there's a lot of major changes. For a start, PlayStation has announced that they will not be making an appearance this year, instead exploring other avenues due to the change in journalistic approaches and how the media has developed over years. Additionally, they've started revealing specs for their PlayStation 5, or at least their next console, meaning that is very much within the realms of possibility for what could be revealed soon, even though it's been confirmed that it won't be releasing this year. Similarly, Xbox has jumped into the ring too, talking about their next console, potentially the Xbox 2. And though it has similar speculations of a 2020 release date, or maybe 2021, it still puts Nintendo in quite a hot spot, considering their rivals are coming up with the next console generation, and Nintendo just has the Nintendo Switch and 3DS on its hands. And just to give them even more of a disadvantage, this will be the first E3 since 2004, 15 years ago, without Reggie Fils-Aimé. Now sure, Doug Bowser will likely be filling in those shoes and may very well do a good job, but it's certainly going to make everything feel completely different. Only Miyamoto will be a familiar face to the Nintendo stage, and he prefers a real stage rather than a digital one. And already with all that extra context at the back of our minds, there's still many elements we just don't know about Nintendo this year. For a start, all of their E3 show floors have had some kind of centerpiece and theme. In 2018, it was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, 2017 had Super Mario Odyssey, and 2016 had Breath of the Wild, all three being giant iconic IPs that make perfect sense. 2019 seems a little more flaky. They could very easily do a giant Animal Crossing one, making the floor a giant village with houses and trees. They could go for Luigi's Mansion if they wanted Mario's brother in it. There's a good chance they'll go for the whole giant Pokemon theme, since the new mainline game Shield and Sword will be making an appearance this year. Or if they really wanted to push for Mario, they could end up going for Super Mario Maker 2. Either way, there's a lot of design options, but it's not overtly clear. Events we do know that are happening with Nintendo have already been revealed on their website, being the Splatoon and Smash Bros. Tournaments, both taking place the weekend just before E3, June 8th. Which, now that I think about it, would be a great place to actually put the Smash reveal. But still, beyond all that, let's talk about the actual games of Nintendo, because it almost feels like they've backed themselves into a corner. There are a lot of 2019 games that have been announced that we haven't seen a lot of, or we know quite a bit about. The element of surprise has always been a major factor for Nintendo, and in this scenario, there seems to be less room for it. Or maybe not. Either way, I'm going to go through a few of the major announcements that you might have forgotten after all this time, and I'll give my thoughts on how prevalent I think they'll be at E3 anyway. First up, Bayonetta 3, being announced ages ago at the Game Awards in 2017. We have heard so little about this game, getting only a tiny teaser trailer and a little announcement on the side that they're still working on it. This game could very well not be a 2019 release. We already have the library pretty filled up anyway. Perhaps we'll get another teaser as an extra indication that yes, it's still going on, but it's not going to be on our doorsteps right so soon. No official games have actually been announced for 2020 under Nintendo. However, the late 2019 window has been shown off with Pokemon Sword and Shield. With that one though, we've already received a 7-minute mini direct about it. Perhaps we've seen a bit too much. Omitting it at E3 might be a giant mistake, but it could just get a regular trailer. It sounds fairly fitting, basic, safe and normal. Like the game. Dining back a little bit more on release dates, we have the presumed Luigi's Mansion 3. We only have heard that it is coming soon, but the chances of it coming within that Halloween window sounds pretty obvious. I don't know why Nintendo would want to put us through a loop on that one. Still, it is a perfect fit for a full reveal at E3. We've only seen a little teaser trailer mini gameplay thing a few months ago, back in September of 2018, so putting it in fully revealed and ready for the latter part of 2019 seems like the guaranteed case scenario. Following that, we have the Link's Awakening remake, just announced for 2019. We've admittedly been missing a bit of Zelda lately. We haven't really had any major Zelda news in 2 years, the only ones really being Link's Awakening and Cadence of Hyrule, if you want to count that one. So, having an extra regular trailer could very well be a thing, though we have already seen the reveal trailer for it, so maybe we'll have seen a bit much. Or, this seems like the perfect kind of game that would get a little showcase afterwards. Animal Crossing 2019. This one doesn't even have a full title yet, and we've seen so little. In fact, we've seen nothing. We've only seen cinematics. This would be the absolute perfect case for a reveal trailer, and is probably the #1 choice for the centerpiece theme. There's also that Astral Chain game being released by Platinum Games, set for the 30th of August. It'll likely get a normal trailer, but will probably be overlooked, but it seems like the kind of game they would just slam into a montage somewhere. But a game that certainly won't be overlooked by its announcement, Super Mario Maker 2. This game is set for release in June, right on top of E3. Chances are it will just be getting its own trailer beforehand, or it might end up being one of those trailers that says it's accessible now on the show floor and on the eShop. But otherwise, I imagine it will just be extra fodder for the most part, due to its release date. Our final major announcement comes from the new Fire Emblem game, Three Houses. This is set for July 26th, the very next month after E3. This sounds fairly fitting for a full trailer, though we have already seen a substantial bit of information from it. And additionally, Super Mario Odyssey last year didn't get that kind of announcement, even though it was released a couple months later, so it could be one of those weird, anomalous ones. Though this is completely different from Mario, so I guess we'll just have to see. There were a couple other minor announcements I wanted to mention that I wasn't really sure where to place. There's that working title Town game, set for a release in 2019. It's created by Game Freak, the same guys behind Pokemon, so perhaps there's more leniency towards it. We've seen quite a little of it, so perhaps we'll see a little more. There's also Daemon Machina. It's struggled to garner much attention, and I feel like if it is going to appear again, it's going to get exactly the same treatment, just sort of being cast in the side in a montage somewhere. But despite all these major announcements of games we'll likely expect to see, because it's just already been announced and on everyone's minds, there's a lot of other avenues for Nintendo to potentially explore. They have their eggs in a lot of baskets. First up is the Nindies. The last Nindy showcase was revealed on spring the 20th of March and revealed all sorts of interesting games. Two of the most remarkable ones being Cuphead, which showed that an Xbox port is very possible due to the two companies' business partnerships, as well as Cadence of Hyrule spinning off an official Nintendo IP. There's always a chance with the success of this game that there could be other combinations with either the Crypt and the Necrodancer gimmick or with other indie developers. It's unlikely, but it's food for thought. We are also aware that A Hat in Time is eventually planned to come to Nintendo Switch, so perhaps E3 is the perfect place to plonk a trailer for it. Or we'll see it in that summer showcase after a while. We've also been seeing the occasional bump from Toby Fox in the form of getting Undertale on the Switch as well as Deltarune, and we don't exactly know when Chapter 2 is coming out, but a big reveal at E3 could seem like the perfect spot under the Nindies title. Now, since the last showcase was revealed on the first day of spring, it's fairly safe to assume that the summer showcase will be revealed on summer, which is set to be the 21st of June, 1 week after E3. It sounds like the perfect timing for a sneak preview, I think. Or they'll just completely omit it and make that a week later. Another similar thing Nintendo likes to upload about frequently is the download, giving uploads at the end of every single month, meaning we'll be getting another one soon that's probably going to outdate this video real quick. Here, I don't see a lot of major opportunities, because I generally seem to just ignore most of these games and find them unremarkable, but maybe they'll reiterate the giant Final Fantasy porting. Otherwise, I expect this will have a small spot, if anything at all. Branching into a new avenue they have is Nintendo VR. They recently announced the new Nintendo Labo Gear, allowing the Nintendo Switch to have VR capabilities, and they already started combining this with gimmicky games, as well as, more importantly, their giant IPs. I made a whole video on different ideas and IPs they could combine together to create a whole new library of Nintendo VR games, so you should check that out if you want to see this point in more detail. Another branching avenue that Nintendo does still have under their belt, whether we like it or not, is the 3DS, as they have announced that they are planning to maintain 3DS coverage through 2019 and beyond. And thinking along that note, we did recently get Luigi's Mansion 3DS. So going by that logic, there's always a chance that there's more GameCube ports that we could be seeing. As a list of ideas that may be possible, we could get The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventure, since that one seems to have been buried a fair bit. We could, if we really wanted to break the hearts and souls of Metroid fans, bring the Metroid Prime trilogy to the 3DS. It may need a little bit of a reworking for controls, but generally that would be a way to sort of push Metroid fans along the way, because Federation Force went so well last time. Another alternative could be finally getting a remake of Super Mario Sunshine. We've seen Super Mario 64 already take on the DS, and Super Mario Sunshine could very easily be marked onto the 3DS with its newer technologies, as much as it's also outdated. Other little ideas is Super Monkey Ball, fairly simple and easy to mimic with the 3DS, or even a Paper Mario 1000 Year Door remastering, as the director of the newer games is aware that that is in demand. And putting it on 3DS seems like a nice way to bridge the gap since, someone has to do it somewhere, I guess. On a more acceptable level, there is also mobile coverage that Nintendo is trying to break into. It's still ongoing and likely never going to stop. And we do already know of a new mobile game coming out, and that is Mario Kart Tour being pushed back to summer of 2019. This, obviously, perfectly lines up for some kind of announcement. Though there is always a chance that it'll just get a trailer dropped like Pokemon Go, which had E3 2016 following up and showcasing it alongside a little bit of gameplay. Either way, I expect we'll be seeing a lot more news about that real soon, and I am endlessly excited to see what they actually come up for the game. In fact, while this video was being produced, they even announced that there is going to be a closed beta in the next month for Android users. Another mobile game that's also in the works for this year is Dr. Mario World. I doubt it'll be too impressive and just be some sort of Candy Crusher Dr. Mario kind of game, but it's still interesting to point out here, as we'll likely be seeing it in some form at E3. But instead of maybe trying to remake old games or bring entirely new ones, because why would we want to do that, there's always a good chance that Nintendo will try and branch more into DLC as extra content out of the content they've already made. Some of these potential DLC options being Super Mario Party as the most obvious one, perhaps getting a whole new game mode, or perhaps some VR capabilities with a new Labo set. Again, I mentioned it in that video that I've already linked in cards, so give that a look if you're interested. Another alternative is Mario Tennis Aces. We've been seeing more and more characters added onto it, and maybe they'll do even more with that, or add a whole new story campaign. But it will probably just be more characters. And the same can be said again with more and more characters in Kirby Star Allies. Beyond that, I haven't got a major idea of what they could do for DLC. It's very much on the list of possibilities since even Super Mario Odyssey got one. Maybe they'll expand that one even more or give us something entirely new, beyond the Luigi stuff. But who needs to extend games that have already come out? Why not just take the whole game and copy and paste it over? Similar to the GameCube remakes, we could get more Wii U ports and bringing maybe new DLC on top with them. The most likely ones I can imagine are Super Mario 3D World, giving us extra Captain Toad levels to go with the Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker port, or even a whole new character added on top of the 5 that already exist. It'd be a nice way to bring that 3D Mario game into a realm that could actually play it, though it is potentially abandoning Wii U customers even more. There's also the Wonderful 101 that will need a little bit of a control change, but otherwise is fairly doable. Additionally, we could also get an extra port from Xenoblade Chronicles X, potentially even giving us more DLC for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Whether it be adding Chronicles X stuff to Chronicles 2, or bringing Chronicles 2 elements to Chronicles X, either way, it's another partnership with the Xenoblade games that they could very easily expand a little more. The only other one on our list, though I feel is a little less likely, but Nintendo's always keeping us on our toes, and that is Zelda HD remakes that have already existed, that being Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Makes a lot of sense, but there's already been 2 Zelda games announced for the Nintendo Switch library that are coming out this year, so we'll have to see. Beyond all of those different branching paths, there's only one left to talk about that's a little more potential. With the competition potentially bringing forward the PlayStation 5 and Xbox 2 soon, Nintendo is also potentially creating some new consoles, or more alternative versions of the Nintendo Switch itself. Be it a cheaper dockless version that is much more cemented as a more normal type of console, or a generally upgraded version that hopefully won't just be called the new Nintendo Switch. This could potentially be problematic in the face of rivals with much more powerful hardware as well as giant names to go with them, but it's very possible we'll be seeing an element of that in E3 too. Or maybe they'll just upgrade the Joy-Cons to be extra rumbly powerful or something. Now, most of what I've said so far have been based on assumptions somewhat that we know about. So now I'm going to take this opportunity in the video to go and take some actual predictions, not necessarily based off of anything, but it's what I'm half expecting to a degree. The most obvious one and most expectable is of course more Smash DLC content. It'll most likely be a little reveal at the very end, perhaps attached to some other new game announcement and then that their characters in Smash, or something to that kind of format. At the very least, it's very likely that it won't be taking up a giant portion like it did at last year's E3, which kind of cluttered up the whole Nintendo Direct. Alternatively, there's a chance they won't show Smash at all. It's the thing we would least be expecting. Another game I'm very much sure we'll be hearing about soon enough is Mario and Sonic at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. I mean, come on, we already know that it's gonna be existing. And seriously, it's Tokyo. They can't not do something about that. It's their homeland, even though they're technically Italian and American. That's a weird origin story. Of course, the one I'm super leaning on as being an actual genuine thing with big things planned is, as I've already mentioned, Mario Kart Tour. The fact that it's been delayed to summer only makes me think it'll be even better since they're putting real investment into making it a good game rather than a quick, rushed mobile one. We all know the famous quote by Miyamoto, and I really think that this could brew into something nice. They've certainly been cooking it up long enough. Another thing that I have already mentioned in this video is the fact that everyone predicts a Metroid Prime trilogy re-release, especially now that they've completely restarted Metroid Prime 4, though a 3DS version would certainly put people through a loop. I don't necessarily hope for it, but it's in my mind. Another one that I'm thinking is a new Sonic. We will soon enough be receiving Sonic Team Racing in May, but I could see this perhaps being a way to hold off for the next game. Sonic Forces and Mania were released in 2017, 2 whole years ago, though their releases have been slowing lately, so perhaps we'll just get a teaser instead. Another prediction is Pikmin 4, the stars have aligned, profits have come together, many people are talking about it, so it means something must be going on, yada yada yada. Cadence of Hyrule might get some additional DLC if it shows to be a particularly successful release on the Switch this spring. Perhaps it's a bit too soon to be talking about it, but an extra push to get Legend of Zelda certainly doesn't seem like something out of the realms by the people that own Legend of Zelda. The only other major prediction I really have to say that comes out of nowhere is Mario and Rabbids somewhere at E3. It's produced by Ubisoft, so you know that they're going to be holding onto that IP and trying to milk it where they can. Perhaps this could just be more additional DLC like the Donkey Kong one. Or we could even get an extension to the whole concept and have a teaser for Zelda and Rabbids, for example. Maybe going away from the laser guns and making it a more medieval swordly thing. And in a little bit of magic on the side, and you've got a new game with a general same concept, but the fact that the attacks are all different might make it a nice, refreshing existence. Though I've been predicting a lot of Zelda this year, huh? Generally, that is all I really expect from E3, or at least there's a handful of things that are potential for E3. At the end of the day, I don't know what the theme's gonna be, I don't know which major announcements they're gonna talk about, if any at all, I don't know what games they're gonna bring out of nowhere, and I don't know where Smash is gonna be, if it's gonna be anywhere at all. When it comes to Nintendo, we'll never really know what happens next, because they're specifically marketing so that we don't know what they're gonna do next. So, I now put the question to you. What is it you'll be expecting at E3, or what do you hope to see? Do any of my predictions seem like complete balls of crap that I should feel sorry for even thinking about? Maybe. Feel free to voice it down below. What do you think will be the main theme of the show floor? What will be showcased after the Nintendo Direct? And how do you think Nintendo will fare around the context of this entire event? Whatever your thoughts, I am eager to see what you say down below, but I'm afraid that is all I have to say about this lovely little ramble about potentially the biggest event, gaming-wise, we might see in a while. We'll just have to see what the big three plan to do next. Anyway, I'm going to be ending it off here. Thank you for watching, and follow me on these things if you would like to see more of me in all sorts of avenues, but otherwise, my name's been Daz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.